If you want to get a more modern sound in your solos, you're going to love this technique. We're going to take a pair of pentatonic scales and apply them to one chord to get this really cool sound. So let's jump into it first by quickly reviewing what pentatonic scales are. Penta, of course, means 5, so it's a 5-note scale. There's actually a major and a minor version of this scale. The major version is 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. In the key of C, that's C, D, E, G, and A. Sounds like this. And the minor version is 1, flat 3, 4, 5, and flat 7. Again, in the key of C, this case C minor, it sounds like this. So we have two versions, the major and the minor. Do you need to know both? Not really, but it helps depending on the line that you're playing. You'll understand what I mean later on in this video. But let's go on now to the chord we're going to apply this scale to. So let's take a C major 7 chord. And you might be thinking, well, it's a C major 7 chord. Maybe we play the C major pentatonic scale over it. That's not going to sound bad, but it's also not going to sound that interesting. It's not going to get you that modern sound. It sounds kind of vanilla, and that's because it lacks color tones. It lacks the more exotic notes that are possible within this context of C major 7. So instead of playing the pentatonic scale starting on the root, which is C, let's start the scale starting on the 5th, G. So we're going to play a G major pentatonic scale. That's going to be G, A, B, D, and E. Now, if you would rather think in terms of minor pentatonic scales, all you're going to do is start on an E instead. If I start on an E, that's going to be E, G, A, B, and D. It's the same notes. We're just starting on a different note. Now, the thing is, you have to really pay attention to what scale degree you're starting the scale on. What do I mean? Well, I kind of said this before, but if we have a C major 7 chord, the G is the 5th. So you can think of it as playing the major pentatonic scale starting on the 5th scale degree. Or if you'd rather think in terms of minor pentatonics, you can think of it as starting on the 3rd scale degree. It depends. Are you thinking in major pentatonics or minor pentatonics? Start with whatever you're more comfortable with. Now, regardless of whether you're thinking of it in terms of a G major pentatonic or an E minor pentatonic, you still get the same scale degrees and chord tones in relation to C major 7. So the G is the 5, the A is the 6, the B is the 7, the D is the 2 or the 9, and then the E is the 3rd. So you get some of these more interesting color tones than what you would get in a basic C major pentatonic scale. It sounds like this. Now, of course, we're going to make it sound much more interesting than just running up and down the scale like that. We'll get to that soon. But we have to talk about the other pentatonic scale. Remember, it's a pair of pentatonics that we're going to be going over in this video. But before we get into the other pentatonic scale, I've got to let you know that the Soloing Bootcamp sale, the 80% off sale on all of my best soloing and improvisation courses, that sale is ending on Sunday, just a couple of days away. So if you want to get one of the best deals I offer all year and get my best soloing and improvisation materials all in one bundle, you've got to check out the Soloing Bootcamp. I'll link it on the screen and in the description below. But for now, let's get back to today's lesson. So what's our other pentatonic scale? Well, instead of starting on the 5th like we did with the G major pentatonic scale, remember, we're still on C major 7 here. We're going to start on the 2nd scale degree. So that's going to be a D major pentatonic scale. D, E, F sharp, A, and B. And if you want to think in terms of minor pentatonics, it's starting on the major 7, which yields a B minor pentatonic scale. B, D, E, F sharp, and A. Now, what does this give us? Well, the D is the 9, the E is the 3rd, F sharp is the sharp 11, a really cool note on a major 7 chord, and the A is the 6, and the B is the 7. So this pentatonic scale gives us a ton of color, a whole bunch of more exotic notes than just that basic C major pentatonic scale. Here's what it sounds like. Now we have to get into how to make these notes sound even better, because as I said before, if you're just running up and down the scales, it's gonna sound boring. It's gonna sound like you're just running up and down scales. And the other thing I have to mention is whenever you learn a new scale, whenever you go into that scale mode where you're thinking, oh, here are the right notes to play to make it sound a certain way, you gotta watch out for venturing on into what I call noodle nation, which is where you just kind of play notes without organizing them or focusing on rhythm or phrasing or any of the stuff that really makes music sound good. Because as I've said before, you can play all of the right notes, you can play all of the cool hip notes. If you don't have solid rhythm or good phrasing, everything you play just kind of sounds like you're BSing your way through a solo. So here's how we're gonna do it. The key word is repetition. Here's what I mean. Let's stay on the C major 7 chord. And real quick, if you want to think in terms of major pentatonics, you're going to play the pentatonic scale that starts on the 5 and the one that starts on the 2. And if you want to think in terms of minor pentatonic scales, I'll write in major here just to keep it clear. If you want to do minor pentatonic scales, you're going to start on the 3 and the 7. Do whatever you want, whatever comes easier is a fine place to start, but as you'll see in a second, it does help to have the major and minor versions at your fingertips. Here's how we work the magic into these two scales, and it's not that complicated. All we're gonna do is take some kind of a line that we play, let's say starting with the G major pentatonic scale. So I'll play a line something like this. And notice I didn't even use all of the notes in the pentatonic scale. I didn't play the E. Just because you have a scale with 5 notes doesn't mean you have to use all 5 of those notes in every line. So let's take this basic phrase and play the same thing, the same shape, but instead of playing it with the G scale, let's play it with the D major scale, the one that starts on the 2nd scale degree. Sounds like this. It's the same exact shape, the same rhythm, and when you play them back to back, they sound really cool. You can start with the G major one or the D major one, doesn't matter. You get a slightly different effect. I'll start with the G major again. And what's great about this is you get this relationship between your lines. You're playing something similar, but a little bit different. Repetition is key. Let's do another example. This time, let's base it more on the minor pentatonic scale. So instead of thinking about starting on the 5th scale degree, I'm gonna be thinking about starting on the 3rd scale degree, which is E, and playing the E minor pentatonic scale. Something like this. Again. That's an E minor pentatonic scale, and you can see how it lines up with E minor in a pretty clear way. We're going down an E minor 7 arpeggio, and then finishing out with some more E minor pentatonic action. And then if we do the same thing and think of it in terms of the 7th scale degree, which is B, so we have a B minor pentatonic scale, it's gonna sound like this. Back to back. Beautiful. You can mess with the rhythm. Try this out at home, and remember, if you want to take advantage of the Soloing Bootcamp 80% off sale, it wraps up on Sunday, so make sure you check it out, linked on the screen and in the description below. And if you want to watch another video, there's one right over here you can check out. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.